Hello and welcome to another episode of Talking Politics here at The Hindu with me, Nistula Hebbar, where we unpack the news making the headlines in domestic politics. This week, as I have been promising for the last few weeks, we do go to Goa. The tiny state, my favorite in the whole of the Indian Union, although I don't belong to Goa. That the politics of the state is extremely complicated, and I must confess that I have been as confused as the rest of you with regard to what is happening here. As of now, because the parties have announced candidates and their larger alliances, we have a little bit of a clarity on the state of play there. This episode of Talking Politics will look at how the political chessboard is laid out in Goa for these assembly polls. Well, as I said, the situation in Goa, the political chessboard in Goa had a lot of toing and froing, which confused the hell out of many of us. Now, of course, candidate lists are coming out and the situation seems to be firming up in terms of at least who stands where. And therefore, I decided that I'll brave an attempt to explain just exactly what is going down in Goa. So for making this a slightly simple explainer, for my sake as much as for yours, I have divided the situation into the four main political formations that are at play in Goa. Now, Goa has 40 assembly seats, and in 2017, I mean, this is very important to explain in terms of just what's happening, and especially in terms of what's happening with the BJP. In 2000 and the Congress, in 2017, the BJP was going in for a second sort of term. They wanted a second term, and they wanted it so badly that Mahohar Parrikar, the late Mahohar Parrikar, who was Defence Minister of India, was made to quit and promised the people of Goa that he would be back as Chief Minister of Goa if the BJP was elected back to power, because there was no other situation in which the BJP looked like it could win these polls, and it did not. In 2017, the BJP got 13 out of 40 seats. The Congress emerged, in fact, as the single largest party with 17 seats. It had an informal sort of an alliance with the Vijay Sardesai-led Goa Forward Party, so there were 3 seats there. And if the Congress had moved fast enough, it probably could have cobbled a majority of 22 seats in the House in Goa. But that was not to be. And the BJP, in fact, stole a march over the Congress and won over not just the Goa Forward Party, but also the Maharashtra Gomantak Party, which also had 3 MLAs. There were 2 independents. And in 2019, if all of this was not enough, in 2019, BJP also broke away 10 out of 15 MLAs, Congress MLAs in Goa, to its side, and shored up its majority and had a comfortable sort of majority till these elections of 2022. Now, when a situation like this arises, of course, there would be an anti-incumbency against the party in power. There usually is in India. There are also several political parties which are ranged against the BJP, which could be giving it some comfort. So you have the Congress, which has an alliance now again with, and this time formally with, the Goa Forward Party. And this time it has been made very clear that there should be no flip-flop after the results are out. Then you have the Trinamool Congress, which is extremely aggressive in terms of moving in states where it thinks that the Congress vote is there to be taken because the Congress organization is not reactive enough or responsive enough to political situations in those states. For example, in Tripura or in Meghalaya and in Goa. These are the states that they have identified and are moving aggressively. The Trinamool Congress has managed to shore up an alliance with the Maharashtra Gomantak Party in the state. Then you have the Aam Aadmi Party, which is until now fighting on its own. It has not just announced tickets, it has also announced a chief ministerial face, because their previous chief ministerial face, Elvis Gomez, has moved over to the Congress, and therefore they have Amit Palekar, who is their new chief ministerial candidate for the Goa Assembly polls. Now, these three parties, conventional wisdom would have that they would be cutting into anti-BJP votes and therefore giving the BJP a home run, whether or not there is an anti-incumbency against that party. But is that really so? Well, that is, of course, yet to be seen whether anti-BJP vote goes to one party or one political formation at the cost of the other two, where defeating the BJP becomes an extremely important goal in itself, or it gets split among these three parties. But what is also important is that things are not okay within the BJP corner as well. It's not like the BJP is one united party going into the polls. The party announced its list of candidates for 36 or odd seats, 34 odd seats. And one of the major omissions, in fact, two major omissions, have created a lot of buzz around internal fighting that is happening within the BJP. One omission is, of course, of Utpal Parrikar, son of late Mahohar Parrikar, who was the biggest leader that the BJP had in Goa. He had been denied a ticket from Panjim. He had been asking for that ticket. The party said, the party in charge, Devendra Fadnavis, in fact, said this at a press conference, that rather than Panjim, the BJP had offered him two other seats where he could fight, but Utpal Parrikar had refused. He was quite firm that he wanted to fight from the Panjim seat. And the second omission was that of former Chief Minister Lakshmikant Parrikar, who has resigned from the primary membership of the party. And these two omissions have led to a lot of heartburn, not just within the party, in RSS circles, which are quite strong in Goa, but also in terms of the Saraswat community, the larger Saraswat community, which largely supports the BJP in Goa and considered Mahohar Parrikar an important leader for them. So this kind of neglect of his son has raised some resentment in those quarters. So it's not a very simple sort of a situation where you have one party with anti-incumbency, but you have three parties against it, and therefore there is a splitting of votes and bringing this one party back to power. Now, when it comes to alliances, the Congress has been extremely careful this time around. They have gone again and again many rounds of talks with Vijay Sardesai of the Goa Forward Party, because they're still smarting from having been ditched in 2017. And very strangely, the Congress did take all candidates that it announced with its party tickets to three religious places in Goa. One is the Mahalakshmi Temple, the second was the Holy Cross Church, and the third was the Hamza Shah Dargah, where these candidates were made to swear that they will not be switching sides once the election results are out. So this brings us actually to the heart of what is happening in Goa. Goa, as I said, has 40 assembly seats, and the 21 MLAs is the halfway mark. These are situations where multi-party contests or multipolar contests can raise a lot of complications, because it will make situations, as I said, complicated with regard to where a particular set of votes will go. If you're an anti-BJP voter, who would you give your vote to? If you're a pro-BJP voter, but you have some issues with regard to how they've handled some local things, who do you give your vote to? You are a Saraswat and you're upset with BJP, who would you give a vote to? If you're a Catholic but you still want to vote the BJP, that could also move things around. The Goa electorate, around 55% of the Goa electorate is said to be undecided till very late to polling day. To give a little flavor of just how slim margins can get, let us just look at the 2017 figures. You had 7 seats which had less than 1,000 vote victory margin. So that's 7 out of 40. That's a large number. Then you had 21 seats. 21 is, remember, the magic number. 22 seats is how you get a majority in the Goa Assembly. So 21 seats had less than 5,000 majority, 5,000 vote majority for the person who was elected. The victory margin was less than 5,000. So these are seats which are going to make a huge, huge difference if there is even a teeniest bit of confusion or a teeniest bit of less of a consolidation which these parties are counting on. And therefore, in my view, I think that the Congress had it quite correctly by marching their candidates to the houses of God of all three religions and making them swear an oath of fealty after the election results would be announced, because the election results in Goa frequently do land up at the doorstep of the Raj Bhavan to be sorted out. People normally saying that it's easier to count MLAs than it is to count candidates. And therefore, in this very, very confusing melee in Goa, we have these four parties which are going at it, and we hope and pray that the situation is resolved through the ballot and not through the Raj Bhavan. This is all I have for you this week. Thank you very much.